And welcome to the QCast. It's a season 3, episode 34. It's good to be back with everyone. Took a little bit of a break after the Final Four in Fort Wayne. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone that made that weekend such a memorable weekend. Congratulations to Christopher Newport. Incredible game. All four teams played well. And again, if you haven't had a chance to get to Fort Wayne, I'd encourage everyone to find a way next year to go. Awesome building relationships with people, awesome games. And so really encourage everyone to find a way to the Final Four next season. My guest here in episode 34 is this is going to be a great one because this is hot off the presses. The head coach, the brand new head coach of the Greensboro College Pride is Jim Boone. And Jim, first of all, I've got to welcome you to Division III here on behalf of Division III Nation. It's great to have you. How are you doing, Jim?
Bob, I'm doing great. Thank you. It's an honor to be here today with you, to be a part of this podcast. I've seen a couple myself and have heard nothing but great things about the job you do for Division III and small college basketball. And I'm just happy to be here. And again, honored and humbled. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, this is going to be a great one. I find so fascinating, Coach, the way your profession works, and decisions to leave one job, go to the next, and just it's such a unique profession that you guys are in. And I've learned so much doing the QCast. Let me just tell everyone a little bit about you. I mean, you've got, if my math is right, you hit the 600 win mark this past season. You have
We did.
602 wins. You've been a head coach, and this is all at Division I and Division II for 38 years. You've been to 12 NCAA tournaments, 6 Sweet 16s, 2 Final Fours. I think you're fifth in active wins across the D2 universe that you just left. So the natural question here, Coach, is, and you're coming from Arkansas Fort Smith, I should add, a Division II school. The natural question, which we're thrilled to hear, is like, why Division III? Why make this move to Greensboro at this point in your career? Talk us through kind of the why behind the move.
Great question. There's a number of different reasons. As you alluded to, we've spent a majority of our career at Division II, and we've had a tremendous amount of success there. And it wasn't that I was necessarily searching out Division III, but it just kind of happened organically, if you will. I've got a lot of miles in my tank. I've been doing it for a long time. As you meant, this will actually be my 38th coming up year of being a head coach, but about 40 some years in coaching altogether. I have a lot of miles in my tank. I still have a lot of juice. I love practice. I love the smell of the gym. I love the competition of the games. There's nothing about college basketball that I don't thoroughly enjoy. But this probably is the last chapter. I'm ready to write the last chapter in my journey. And I've always been intrigued by the Division III level. First of all, the quality of coaching is amazing. There are great coaches, legends in Division III basketball. Secondly, just like Division II, sometimes we get the myth that the players aren't as good. There's tremendous players at all levels, particularly Division II and Division III. But one of the things I think that Division III has, and this is one of the great reasons that I pursued the opportunity at Greensboro College, is it's the absolute purest form of student athlete. And therefore, it's the absolute purest form of coaching. I'm not saying that some of the things that are going on that are happening in college basketball today are bad. They're just different. When you start talking about NILs and transfer portals and basically you're having a young man for 1 or 2 years, I don't know if that's how I'm built. I'm built to bring a young man into our program and coach him for 4 or 5 years and help develop him into a player. I've prided myself through my career being one of those guys that I think we're really, really good at developing the whole person, but specifically the basketball player. And so when this opportunity presented itself, I happened to know the women's coach, Coach Macy, Heather Macy, who a lot of people are familiar with because she is pretty well known herself and has done a great job on the women's side of Greensboro. When I saw that the job was open, I reached out to her, and one thing led to another, and I had an opportunity to visit campus. And when I visited campus, I was absolutely blown away just about the family feel, the alignment that exists from the president to the athletic director to the coaching staff. It's what I really was searching for, and it just kind of hit me. This is it. This is what we want to do. So that's why I'm here and looking forward to it and excited. And great question. It's been I've traveled the path least traveled
Right.
through my career. I haven't been that guy that played at a major college institution and had a chance to move up and to that. I've always had to take the jobs that basically nobody else wanted and try to turn them around and produce a winner. This I look upon as my last stop, my last chapter, as I mentioned. So I'm excited about building something special here at Greensboro College.
Yeah, you've mentioned the stops, and just to kind of go through this, and I've done a lot of QCast coach where I prepare and try to write down all the stops. You, you
You
have
ran
the
out of space, didn't you?
you have the toughest one. The only other one that was nearly as tough was Glenn Miller at St. Joseph of Connecticut, where I had to write down UConn
Really?
and all these things. So let me just try to go through. So you attended West Virginia State, where you were a 4-year letterman. You got your master's at Kentucky, and then coaching. You went back to your alma mater. Your first coaching job was West Virginia State. I think you were there about 3 years, and then you're assistant at D1 Charleston Southern. You're part of a Big South title there. And then you go to a place that you just absolutely crushed it. So Division II, California University of Pennsylvania. You were there, I think, 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Record was 228-71, 2 Final Fours, 6 conference titles, 6 trips to the NCAA tournament. You're in the California PA Hall of Fame. You won 20 games 6 straight years, and your league record in the PSAC was 94-24. So let's just stop here for a second. That's high level D2 basketball, coach. Your time at California University of Pennsylvania must have been a pretty special time for you. That's some crazy stuff there.
Bob, it really was. From this standpoint, I was a young coach, and I didn't. I was at a place where they afforded me the opportunity to make mistakes, and so I was able to make some of those mistakes and grow with the program. And fortunately, we had tremendous players, which if you're going to be successful, you got to have great people around you. And so we had great players, great run. Really enjoyed it. I had a vice president and a president that were extremely supportive, and it kind of helped us grow the program in the vision and direction that we wanted to. Frankly, one of my biggest mistakes was leaving there. But at that point in time, I was so ambitious to climb that ladder, like a lot of young coaches are, that I was literally chasing the next job instead of understanding that it's about chasing significance in the job that you're in. And so I got caught up in that a little bit and took the next job going to Robert Morris. But the reason I say a mistake, because I always look back at those years, and we produced such a family affair with our basketball program. We had guys coming back that had played in our first year, coming back in the 8th and 9th and 10th year to share in that team's success. And I love that. I love being a part of that family, that camaraderie where we're all connected, and there's just such a unifying feel of that. So, but I don't regret it, because
Right.
I would have, if I wouldn't have made the jump to Division I and become a head coach at that level. I would have always regretted not doing that. So
Right.
I'm happy I did it. I just really relished the time that we had there when we were at Cal PA.
Jim, it's a great point that you bring up, and I think maybe that this is a good question to ask on behalf of some of the younger Division III coaches out there right now that are going to be faced with that same question. You've got guys that are doing big things in Division III currently. I won't name any names, but they've got people knocking on their door, whether it's to be an assistant at the next level or potentially even a head coach at the next level. Any advice you would give those coaches that on the men's side, the women's side, both, in terms of that chasing the next job mentality? I don't think there's any black and white answer to give here. It's individual, but any advice for people that are faced with that kind of decision?
You know, I got to become very good friends with Coach Don Meyer, and anybody that's in small college knows Coach Meyer, who he was and what he was about. And he would always say, "Why do you coach? What's your why?" And it shouldn't matter where you coach; it's the why that matters. So it took me a little bit of time to figure that out. That the things that I wanted to do in helping to create a platform for young people to gather the tools that they needed to be successful in life, to be successful husbands, fathers, and leaders in their own communities, I could do best at the small college level. That's where I could serve them best. And there's a great book, which also Coach Meyer referred to me, Frosty Westerling, his book, Make the Big Time Where You Are. It's not about where you coach. It's about why you coach and what you do. And it's easy to get caught up in that. And I don't mean this to be disrespectful or derogatory in any way, but I can't tell you the number of major college coaches I speak to that really aren't happy in their jobs today. And in terms of the things that they're asked to do and how they have to run their programs to meet the demands and challenges of today's major college basketball. And then I look at myself and I just love it. Every day I can't wait to get to work and get to it.
It's such a fascinating thing. I go back to I'm really closely connected with the Illinois Wesleyan men's basketball program, and Denny Bridges was there 37 years, and somewhere towards the end, maybe year 35 or so, I remember being at a home game and afterwards asking him, Coach, did you ever think about leaving here? And like, did anyone else offer you a job? And it actually turns out many times people did. I remember he just said, everything I like about coaching is right here. And
Well said. Well
yeah,
said.
yeah, that
Well
always
said.
stuck with me. And then when you talked about leaving California to go to Robert Morris, that was a phenomenal opportunity at the time. Like you said, you don't regret doing it, but as you kind of
Right.
look back on it, you realize how good a thing you had going at California. You go to Robert Morris D1, you do a great job there, kind of rebuilding. You go to Eastern Michigan, that's D1. You do a great job rebuilding there. And then I believe, if I have the steps right, now you're back into D2 after Eastern Michigan, Tusculum. I think there was a quick stop at West Virginia Wesleyan, and then 7 years at Delta State. A great job at Delta State. And I believe from Delta State is where you ended up after that at Arkansas Fort Smith. I
Yeah.
don't know if I missed a place in there, but that's
I
quite a
think you got them
resume.
all. I think
Coach,
you got them all.
that's an amazing resume, Coach. And one thing I wanted to ask you about is you're known as a kind of a program builder, rebuilder. Like you've been to all these places and done really, really well. And at all of them, I think it's fair to say you left them in a better place than when you got there. What what is the trick to that? What's been your secret sauce, so to speak, in going about all of that?
I think the number one thing is creating a culture. And everybody talks about that. It's a buzzword in today's college athletics. We didn't used to call it culture. It was just building the program and making the program bigger than basketball. And so that I think we've been really good at doing that. And there's a couple things that really stand out to me along the way that I learned that have helped me tremendously. When I went to Robert Morris, I inherited a really great group of young men, but young men that weren't the best basketball players and had not had a lot of success. And we had always been X and O wise a little bit. We'd always been an up the line, on the line, fight you for every inch of the court, deny everything type of program. I think sometimes we were really good at Cal in spite of what we did, because as the game changed and you've got the shot clock and the 3-point line, the game became more of a north-south game than the east-west game that I had grown up with. And so defense needed to change as well. So when I took that job at Robert Morris, I knew we could not play that same way. And I made the pilgrimage out to Madison, Wisconsin, and spent 4 days with Dick Bennett and his staff, and they were very gracious. And that's where we first learned the pack line defense, which has become a staple of our programs. The reason I tell you that story is one of the things that Coach Bennett told me at that time. We talked about program building, taking over programs that had went through tough times. As I mentioned before, I've always kind of got the jobs that nobody else wanted. So you're going to go through some difficult times. It's never easy turning that sucker around. And Coach Bennett made this comment that just kind of stuck with me through the years. And you need to surround yourself initially with players you can lose with first. Recruit players you can lose with first. And a lot of people hear that and like, whoa, what do you mean that you can lose with? Well, it's pretty simple, and I'm sure your audience gets it. You have to have young men that are going to stick by your side, stick to your values, stick to the core beliefs of your culture and what your program is about, because there's going to be adversity. You're going to lose. You're going to go through some tough times. And that's one of the things that we've always tried to do. Anywhere we go, recruit guys that we know are going to be true to us and that we can count on and that are going to be trustworthy and loyal. Recruit character and recruit work ethic. And if we can get those kind of young men and then get them headed in the direction of the pillars of our culture, then we've got a really good opportunity to be successful. Because at the end of the day, to be successful, you've got to have great people and they've got to be talented.
Right.
You're not going to be successful with less than that. You can't win if you don't have great people. When you see the programs winning at all levels, it's because they're really, really good people there. And that's what we've tried to do through the years. As simple as it may sound, is just recruit really good people in that we know we can count on, and then build from there and build on those successes.
You're known, coach, as you mentioned the pack line defense, which is what triggered this. You're known as really a great clinician and speaker, and so you're really well known for your talks on pack line defense and your motion offense. I first want to ask, because I'm not the world's greatest X's and O's guy, what the heck is pack line defense, coach? I know the coaches watching this are laughing at me, but I don't know exactly what that is. Can you give us the Reader's Digest version of what that is?
Certainly. You're just trying to, one of the things that we found out that you can't really, it's hard to take the ball away from a good offensive team. So if your defense is predicated on pressure and turnovers, when you're going to run into somebody who's really good, it's not going to let you do that.
Right.
So what we try to do is we feel like we can dictate the type of shot that we give up. We may not be able to get the ball. We may not be able to force turnovers, but we can dictate the type of shot. So we're really trying to pack it in, hence the pack line defense, and protect the lane, force the offense to shoot contested twos, make sure we're in a position that we can close out the threes and contest those threes. And then we're not giving up rhythm threes. We're not giving up layups. Those are the two prime areas in today's game. So that's why the pack line translates so well today in today's basketball. Just trying to protect the lane and keep the ball out of there.
Isn't it pretty fascinating how many different styles there are out there in college basketball? I'm thinking of, the teams that play kind of the traditional, what I'll call a Midwest style of basketball that I'm used to watching. There was a team in our league, North Park, that had a first-year coach this year, Sean Smith, that came in and played a style that was, we're going to take the ball away from you. And they did amazing things with that. Now, to your
They're
point,
very successful.
they had a great year. They ran into a team in Mount Union in the Sweet 16 that took care of the ball. And usually those teams run into that issue where you go deep enough and you're gonna run into a team with great guards that is not going to turn it over. But isn't it kind of intriguing, Coach, nowadays how many different styles of basketball are being played across all these levels?
I love it. I think that's what makes college basketball great, and that's why people have such an affinity for this level of play. Um, one night you've got to be able to beat that team that's going to press you and wall to wall and not let you have a chance to breathe. The next night you're playing a team that plays all zone. The next night you're playing a team that runs
Right.
pack. You're going to see all different styles, all different flavors of offense and defense. That's one of the things that I'm a little fearful of as we move forward. There's such a faction of people that want our game to be so much like the NBA game.
Right.
And frankly, I think the NBA game, and I don't mean to upset anyone because I'm a fan. I love NBA basketball, but it's more of a cookie cutter game.
Yeah.
Other than maybe the Warriors and a few teams like that, it's pretty much all ball screen, one-on-one isolation play. And one of the things I love about college basketball is the team aspect of it and the differences in play that you see every night. If you're going to win a championship, if you're going to win a conference championship, if you're going to win a national championship, then you've got to be able to take on all comers and all styles of play. And I love that about our game, and that challenge that we have with our game from a coaching perspective.
And I think what you're going to find at Division III is it's going to suit you even more, because if the extremes are the NBA here and Division III here, the more you get, I think, Coach, you'll agree with this, to a level where the guys can't just rely on athleticism and quickness alone, which you can in the NBA and NCAA Division I, you can. But in Division III, the reason that I think those of us that are so passionate about it's because of, like you said, it is basketball. I mean, it is passing, it is cutting, it is screening, it is shooting. Is that fair to say, Coach, that the level that you're now going to at Greensboro, it's going to be exactly what you want to get to, which is just pure basketball?
Well, our programs, we've always tried to build our programs on fundamentals and the execution of those fundamentals. And so I agree with you. At this level, we will be greatly tested in our ability to get our team to execute, because the teams that execute their fundamental scheme the best are the teams that are usually successful at this level of play. And as you have already alluded to, and I mentioned earlier, I'm just in awe of the great coaches that exist at this level.
Yeah.
And they're in it for the right reasons. They're in it to coach basketball. They're not getting rich. We're not making a ton of money, but we're making a great living. You mentioned when I went to Kentucky to get my MBA, that's because I told my parents that I wanted to be a coach. And my dad was like, "Can you make any money doing that? Can you make a living?" I said, "Well, I think so." Well, they wanted me to get that MBA, so I had a fallback just in case that didn't work out.
Pretty smart.
Oh, I agree.
Let's talk a little bit about the program that you're inheriting, the Greensboro College Pride. Greensboro this year was 10-15, 5-9 in the USAC. The last several years, kind of struggled a little. 10-15. I'm just going in reverse order: 6-12, 12-13, 3-22, 10-16. Now there's some good history when we go a little deeper than that. Greensboro won 18 games back in 12-13. They also won 18 and 11-12. They've made 3 trips to the NCAA tournament, but the last was 1995. So 85, 94, 95. So coach, you're not inheriting a team that has the last 5 years been a powerhouse. This is clearly a team where you've got to come in, build culture, etc. Just walking in the door. I know that you don't have this all figured out yet, but walking in the door, how do you approach the kind of the build in front of you?
Well, not to be too elementary, but I've always looked upon building the program as a jigsaw puzzle. You know, you really don't know what you have until you open the box. And then you see all the pieces of the puzzle in there. And when you first take over a program and walk in, that's about what it looks like. And it's pretty chaotic in its look. You know, where do I start? What do I do now? And you start pulling some of those pieces out and you realize some of them are broken. Not all the pieces are there. How are we going to make this work? How are we going to put it together? Well, you have to have a vision first and foremost, and that's the top of the box top of the jigsaw puzzle, what the puzzle's supposed to look like when you get it all put together. And where do you usually start when you start building a jigsaw puzzle, particularly if it's one that's pretty large and pretty chaotic? You start on the borders. And so for us, the borders of the jigsaw puzzle are our pillars of our culture. Very simplistic, nothing extravagant, you know, passion, toughness, servanthood, and unity. And so we try to address each one of those as we put our program together. The very first thing that I'm doing and have been doing here for the last several days is reaching out to each of the members that are currently on our team. I think those are the first guys that you have to recruit, and they do need to be recruited. Yeah, they're there because they want to be there. They're there because they love Greensboro College, but they need to know that they're wanted and they're going to be a part of the family. You know, one of my authors that I really enjoy is John Gordon, and the many books that he has written, and the one in particular, The Energy Bus. You know, we invite everybody on. Now, there's going to be guys that decide it's not right for them, and they're going to want to get off, and that's fine. That's okay, because you know we're not right for everybody, and I understand that. But we want to give them all an opportunity. So it all starts right there, and then obviously I've got to put a staff together, and we've got to recruit some more players to come in. And then it all gets down to just doing what we said. And we've got to get to work, and we've got to have young men that are going to be true to us and stay true to our philosophy and our pillars of our culture. I'm excited to get in there. As I think we may have mentioned, I'm still in Arkansas right now. I'm getting ready to, right after Easter, head down. I've spent this week diligently reaching out to each one of our players and reaching out to others, and you know, trying to find a way. I tell you what, I was amazed when I visited campus and walked through campus, the beauty that exists there, but even more so hearing some of the history and some of the great coaches that have coached in Haynes Gymnasium. So it's going to be an honor for me to coach from that sideline and be a part of that venue.
On the recruiting side, I'm just curious if you anticipate that being an adjustment. Currently, you know, the last many years, you've been going to high school gyms and watching kids and looking for what looks like a Division II player.
Mm-hmm.
And we both know that there is tons of crossover there, where the guys that you were recruiting to Division II are the same guys that you'll recruit to Division III. But there is also a difference there. There's a certain style of player that's probably more going to lean Division II versus Division III. Do you think the recruiting shift will be difficult for you after all these years at Division II and Division I?
It's definitely going to be different, and we've already delved into that, you know, here in the early period, just talking to different kids, and you kind of get a feel real early, you know, who we appeal to and who we may not appeal to. You know, a non-scholarship situation is not it's not the best for everyone.
Right.
But it's amazing to me, particularly when you have a product such as we have, and most Division III coaches have, because you're sitting on picturesque campuses, and
Yeah.
you know, it's a different animal, but it's very appealing to a lot of kids. And again, it gets back to those young men, in my case, are going to make that leap of faith with us and come to Greensboro College because first and foremost, they want to get a degree. And that's what we're really supposed to be in this for. That's what I got in it in the very beginning of my career, was for the education and what we're doing to help educate our young people. So we have we, as again most Division III schools have a very unique product to offer, and one that there are countless numbers of young men out there that it fits them. We just have to go find them and present it to them.
You got so many powerhouses in your region. Usually I
Oh
think
yeah.
of I usually historically we think of Division III men's basketball as being very Midwest based. The WIAC, those Wisconsin schools and the
Mm-hmm.
Illinois schools and the Ohio and Michigan. Well, the last two national championships in Division III have come from your region, Christopher Newport and Randolph Macon. And when you think of who's in your neighborhood there, Coach, with the ODAC, we talked about Christopher Newport, which is in that coast to coast conference, but that Randolph Macon, Hampton, Sydney, Virginia Wesleyan, Roanoke, Guilford. I mean, Coach, in your neighborhood, there's some pretty good programs. It's got to be fun to kind of jump into a region that's that powerful.
It is fun right now to talk about it. It might not be so much fun when we dive into it.
Right.
You talk about neighborhood. I go back a long way with Randolph Macon, so I know all about their history and the great success they've had through the years. And then Christopher Newport, obviously, what a wonderful situation they have there. And then you say in the same neighborhood, literally, because Guilford's right next door
Right.
to us. So we have our work cut out for us. It is going to be a challenge, but that really gets the juices flowing. It gets me excited because I want that type of challenge. I want to compete against the best.
We'll need to give you a tutorial on how the Division III selection process goes. I'm going to have to get my guys, the Snyders and the D3 Datacast, to spend some time with you. We have some quirky stuff, Coach. We've got these things called results versus regionally ranked opponents. Our strength of schedule is a little quirky, regional rankings. So we're not there yet, but when you're ready for your onboarding session, we'll try to teach you how to get regionally ranked, because it's sort of a strange thing, let me tell you. I don't know if you've had any time to dig into that, but it's kind of quirky.
I have not yet. Now, Division II is not that far off from that.
True.
Trust me. So I think I've got maybe the prerequisites to go in and understand what we're going to have to put together to have that opportunity. We're probably a long way away from getting there, but I know that's a place we aspire to be for sure.
The simplest way to look at it is there's 44 automatic bids and the USAC has one of them, Coach. So you win that conference tournament, you're in. That's all I can tell you for now. It's pretty easy that way.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
This is, folks, we've been visiting with Jim Boone, the brand new men's basketball head coach at Greensboro College. Jim, this has been awesome. Just kind of talking through all this with you, and what great timing, because you just got named about 2 days ago. Was it 2, 3 days ago? Somewhere in there. It was this week, right?
It's Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. And so here we are on Thursday. Want to ask you, is there anything we didn't get to in all this? I want to make sure that you get the last word in this conversation today. Anything you want to leave Division III fans with, small small college basketball fans, Greensboro fans, as we kind of close out the QCast today? What would you leave us with?
Well, I can tell you this. I'm very excited to be a part of Division III basketball and this close knit coaching community that exists and players. It's amazing to me through my years in working camps and speaking clinics, the number of Division III former players, the number of Division III coaches I've had an opportunity to get to know, and just how close of camaraderie that is in the Division III community. So I'm excited to be here. I feel humbled for this opportunity. Uh, I know we've got a long way to go, but we aspire to be amongst the best, and we're going to give it our best shot to see where we can end up.
Yeah, fascinating to see, how you transition in. I know that you're going to love the caliber of basketball in Division III, and I know you're walking into a situation that you're aware of how competitive this is. Your league is tough, your region's tough, but clearly you have a very clear picture of how you're going to build this thing, starting with culture. You talked about your pillars. Wish you the best of luck, Coach. Would love to check in along the way. I think it'd be cool to kind of follow this building program along. So if you're willing, I'd love to have you back on the show sometime during the season next year.
Well, I'm more than willing and would love to do that. As I've mentioned, I've had a chance to see you before, and when you hit me up on Twitter and asked me to do it, that was a no-brainer. I jumped all over it. It's an honor to be on here with you today, and this is kind of my onboarding, if you will, of getting ready for Division III. It's great to get broke in this way and have a chance to speak with you. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Coach. And to everyone tuning in, we always use that hashtag YD3. Well, we have a guy with 602 wins, one of the most successful coaches in NCAA Division II. He's had 2 head jobs in Division I that has decided to come to our level. And so this is a very YD3 moment for all of us. Jim Boone, thank you so much. It's an honor, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
It sounds great. I appreciate it, Bob. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.